going to continue with Perek Yud Dalet. And Shimshon was born. He was blessed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and as he grew up, he felt the spirit of Hashem within him to assert a leadership against the Plishtim. And Perek Yud Dalet begins, Vayered Shimshon Timnasa. Shimshon went down to the city of Timnah, which was under Philistine occupation. Vayar Isha b'Timnasa. He saw a woman in Timnah, Mibnos Pelishtim, from the Philistines, a Philistine woman, a non-Jew. Vayal v'yaged li'aviv. He went back to his father and said, Uleima, his father and his mother. Vayomer, Isha ra'isi b'Timnasa Mibnos Pelishtim. I met a woman in Timnah from the daughters of the Philistines. V'yata, kachu osa li le'isha. I want to marry her. I want you to arrange the shidduch, come up with the nadunya, come up with the dowry, whatever needs to be done. Vayomer lo aviv v'imai. His father and mother said, and I'll note the verb vayomer is singular. They spoke with a united voice, as if they were one person. Are you crazy? Ha'ein bivnos achecha uv'chol ami? You don't have proper women among your brethren and among our nation? Isha, you can't marry a Jewish woman? Kiata holech lokachas isha miplishtim arbelim, that you are going to take a woman from the Plishtim who are uncircumcised. Again, that's a sign of loneliness, that they don't have the mitzvah of milah. Vayomer Shimshon alaviv, and Shimshon said to his father, Oisa kachli. Take her, it is her I want. Kihi yashra b'einai. She is the one that is fitting in my eyes. Again, this is going to be the first of many things about Shimshon that are inexplicable. Shimshon is a Nazir. He's a holy person. He is a Shefet. He is the one that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose to liberate Klal Yisrael from the Pelishtim. And yet Shimshon seems to be wild, uncontrollable, doing Averos. Shimshon wants to marry a Philistine woman, a Goya. And the pasuk goes on and says, Aviv ve'imai lo yadu. His father and mother are so upset that he wants to marry a Philistine woman, don't realize. Kimi Hashemhu. This comes from Hashem, and as HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into Shimshon's heart an uncontrollable desire for this Philistine woman. Ki so ana hu mevakesh miplishtim. Shimshon is looking for an excuse, you're going to see, to become part of the Philistine culture so he can infiltrate the Plishtim and be able to expose their vulnerabilities and ultimately defeat them, because this was the time that Plishtim moshlim b'Yisrael. Again, there's a lot of very deep mystical ideas here, but somehow Shimshon had to be, in order for him to be able to defeat the Philistines had to think initially he was one of them. And then they befriended him, and then he knew their secrets, and he knew their vulnerabilities. And he was able to destroy them in various ways. And it had to be through the guise of being one of them. And thus Hashem put into his heart that he would marry a Philistine woman. And the pasuk goes on, Vayered Shimshon v'aviv v'imai Timnasa. Shimshon and his father and mother came down to Timnah to arrange the shidduch. One can only imagine how heartbroken his parents must have been. They didn't know this was from Hashem. Vayavoy at Karmei Timnasa, and they came to the vineyards outside of Timnah. V'hine kefir arayot shoeg likraso. And behold, there was a young lion that was roaring to greet Shimshon. Kind of a lion, a mountain lion, which is, obviously very dangerous. Vatitzlach alav ruach Hashem. But the Spirit of Hashem entered Shimshon, giving him a superhuman strength. Vayishaseu kishasa hagidi, and he was able to rip apart the lion. He grabbed the lion and just ripped it apart. Kishasa hagidi, the way a lion could rip apart a goat. Uma ein biyadei. But apparently Shimshon's parents were not with him, mamish, at that point. Maybe they were traveling separately. And Shimshon carried nothing in his hand as a souvenir. V'lo higid li'avav u'li'imai eis asher asah. He did not tell his parents what he did. He just did it and kept it a secret. Vayered v'yidaber li'isha, and then they went down and spoke to the woman, and a shidduch was arranged. Vatishar b'yeinei Shimshon, everything was good in the eyes of Shimshon. V'yashav miyamim l'kachta, and a few weeks later, when he came back to claim her as a wife, v'yasar lirot es mapeles ha'aryeh, he went to see the corpse of the lion that was still there. It was a rotting corpse, but it was still there. V'hinei adas devayrim bigviat ha'aryeh u'devash. A hive of bees, they made their hive in the carcass of the lion, and there was honey already in that carcass, because in the beehive. Vayirdeu el kapav, and Shimshon took that honey into his hands, and he was eating the honey. It's regular honey. Vayelech haloch v'yachal, and as he's walking, he's eating the honey. Vayelech el aviv v'yalimo, he went to his parents, he gave them honey. He didn't tell them where it's from. V'lo higid lahem, he did not tell them. Ki migviato aryeh rada hadvash, that he had taken the honey from the body of the lion. Vayered aviyu Elohisha, and then his father came down to the woman to arrange the marriage. V'yas sham Shimshon mishta, and Shimshon made a big party, a big celebration. Kichein yasu habachurim. This is what single men used to make. It's the bachelor's party, the night before the wedding. The bachurim would get together and they would rejoice. Vayihi kireisem oisam. And when these Philistine boys, bachurim, saw Shimshon, vayikchu shaloshim areim, 30 friends gathered, vayihu imai. So Shimshon seems to be part of this chabura. It's not a chabura of B'nai Torah, it's a chabura of Pelishtim. But Shimshon is one of them. He looks like one of them. He's wild, uncontrollable. He wants to marry a Philistine woman. He's part of their group. Vayomer lahem Shimshon, and Shimshon says to them, Achuda na lachem chida. I want to give you a riddle and see if you can answer the riddle. Im hagei tagidu asali, shivat yemei mishta, umatsasem. If you can give me the answer to the riddle during the 7 days of celebration after the wedding, meaning at any time before the end of the 7 days, I will give each of you a sadin, a garment, meaning I will give 30 garments. Sadin is like a blanket, a cloak that you put around your shoulders, ushloshim chalifot bigadim, and 30 complete suits. That would be the shirt, the undergarment, and the like. Meaning I will give a sadin and a khalifa, kind of a suit, to each of you. However, imlo suchlu lahagidli, if you are not able to give me the answer to the riddle, unasatem atem li shloshim sadinim ushloshim khalifot begadim. You must give me 30 cloaks and 30 suits of clothing. So actually for them it's not such a bad deal because there are 30 people who could do it. Shimshon will give them 30 if they answer the riddle, and they will give Shimshon 30 if they cannot answer the riddle. Vayomru lo, and the Philistine bachurim said, Chuda chidascha, give us your riddle. Vanishma ena, and we will listen to it. Vayomer lahem, and Shimshon said, my riddle is this: Me ha-eichel yatsa ma'achal. From the eater comes the food. Umeyaz And from that which is so strong and fearsome, Yatsa Matok, comes the sweet. From the eater comes the food, and from the strong and the fearsome comes the sweet, the gentle and the comforting. And for the first 3 days, they could not have an answer. Now then the next pasuk says, and it was on the 7th day. So obviously this does not mean, Rashi says, the 7th day of Mishnah, because then it wouldn't make sense. They didn't have an answer for 3 days, implying they had an answer on the 4th day. So what does it mean they had an answer on the 7th day? It means Shabbos, meaning the 4th day of the Mishnah was Shabbos. So now it's Shabbos, V'yom Ruleisha Shimshon. And they're running out of time. It's already more than half of the time is gone. So they go to Shimshon's wife, and they say, Patiyasi Sheikh, why don't you get the answer from your husband? You know, you can talk to him and get the answer, then give it to us. V'yaged lanu es achida. And we should get the answer to the riddle. And of course they couple their request with a threat. Pen nisrof osach v'yas beis avich b'yesh. And if you don't give us the answer, we're going to burn you and destroy your father's house with fire. Halayarshenu karasim lanu halo. Did we come to this wedding that you should inherit all of our property? We're going to give you 30 sadinim and 30 khalifat. So they coupled it with a threat. These are not nice guys. Vatefch eshes Shimshon alav. And Shimshon's wife was crying to him and begging him. Vatomer. Now she didn't say, tell them. She just said, tell me, I'll keep it a secret. Raksin asene, you hate me. Lo avtani, you don't really love me. Hachida chadata livnei ami, you give riddles to my people. Voli lo higadata. You can't even trust your wife? Tell me. Vayomer lo, and Shimshon said, Hine liavi ulihimi lo higadati. I didn't even tell the answer to my father and my mother. V'loch agid, I should tell you? Why should I trust you? You're a Philistine. V'teifch alav shiva sayomim. And she was crying for the remainder of the 7 days. Asher hayolem amishta, that the party had a duration. Vayhi biyom hashvi, on the last day of celebration, because the clock is going to run out. Yaged law, he tells her the answer. Ki sikasu, because she is pressing him. And right away, as soon as she got the answer, she told it to the Bachrim. Vayomer lo anshe ha'ir b'yom hashvi, and it was the 7th day, b'terem yavo hacharsa, before the sunset, so they still have time. Ma masok midvash, what is sweeter than honey? Uma az, and what is stronger and more fearful than a lion? And therefore, the remez, from the eater comes the food, is the honey that's in the lion. Umeaz, and from the strong comes the sweet, is the honey that is found in the lion's body. And they gave the answer. Vayomer lahem, and Shimshon said it would be impossible for you to connect it to this lion, because nobody knows that I killed the lion. Lule charashtem biaglosi, if you would not have plowed with my calf, meaning if you wouldn't have put pressure on my wife, lo matzosem chidasi, you would not find the answer to my riddle. And the pasuk says, Vatitzlach olav ruach Hashem, and the spirit of Hashem went on Shimshon, Vayered Ashkelon, and he went to the Philistine town of Ashkelon on the Mediterranean coast. Vayachmayem shloshim ish, he killed 30 people. Vayikach es chalitzosam, and he took their garments. Vayiten achalifos lamagidei achida. So here's the thing, very strange story once again. Shimshon now owes these 30 guys all of this clothing. So Shimshon kills 30 other Philistines to give these guys the chalifas. Now, you have to understand that the Philistines think that Shimshon is one of them. So the fact that he did it, this is a Philistine thing. You kill, you take, you steal. You see, Shimshon is able to get away with this precisely because he is not perceived as a Jew fighting the Plishtim. He is perceived as another Philistine who does wild and corrupt things because that's how they behaved. So little, by attrition, ma'at, he's able to destroy these pockets of Philistines. And Vayichar Rabbi, but Shimshon was very upset that they found out his riddle. Vayal Beis Avihu, he went back to his father. He had separated from his wife, basically, because he saw that she was disloyal. Vatihi Eisha Shimshon leMeire'eu asher re'alo. And the father-in-law, the father of this woman, gave Shimshon's wife to a friend of so-called friend of Shimshon. Basically, there was no get, there was no Gershon. Shimshon left in anger, and father-in-law simply gave her to another man. And we're going to see the consequences of that shortly. Again, I just want to point out that the phrase "me'az yatsa matuk," that from the strong and harsh and fearsome comes sweetness, has actually become a saying in life that very much describes the history of Klal Yisrael and the experiences we go through as individuals. And that is, often in life there's a midas hadin. There is suffering, there is sickness, there is terrorism, there's adversity. And the challenges appear to be overwhelming. They can break our spirit. But we have to be makir that just as Chazal say, Kol ma di'avid rachamana l'tavavid, everything that Hashem does is ultimately going to be for the good, even though we don't understand it. And chayav adam levarech al hara, kederech shemavarech al hatayva. You must make a bracha for the so-called bad, just as you make a bracha for the so-called good, because you are makabel them with the understanding that it comes from Hashem. So we similarly say, Me'az yatsa matok, that from the harshness will come an eventual sweetness. And again, as Klal Yisrael is going through difficult matzavim, Ken Yehi Ratzayin, may we be zeicha in our own lives, and the lives of all Yidden, to the bracha of Me'az yatsa matok.